What's up, guys? It's Susie Bullock from HeyGrillHey.com, and on today's episode of Backyard Barbecue, I'm teaching you the ins and outs of a perfect, beautiful, slow-smoked, juicy brisket. We're doing this with a homemade coffee rub, a homemade coffee-based barbecue sauce, and some pickled red onions to tie it all together. Let's get started. To get started with our brisket, it's all about the preparation. So once you've picked out your brisket, I like to shoot for about a 14-pound full packer brisket. That means the point end and the flat end are still together. They're usually cryovac. You can find them at Costco, you can ask your butcher, and it's time to get it out of that bag and trim it down. Now, you don't want to trim too excessively. You need just enough fat to keep it nice and moist and kind of slowly baste the meat as it cooks. I take the top down to a nice even layer about 1/4 of an inch thick all the way across the top, and then I flip it over and simply trim any of the excess silver skin or anything across the back. And then you'll see this large, almost moon-shaped piece of hard white fat. You can cut that out so your brisket's nice and aerodynamic and it looks clean and beautiful. Now it's time to make our coffee rub. This rub is beautiful because it complements kind of the bitter flavor that comes from smoking things low and slow. So we start with 2 tablespoons of coarse salt, 2 tablespoons of instant coffee. This is my secret. If you use coffee grinds, they have a tendency to burn and become bitter. But if you use instant coffee, it dissolves into the fat on the outside of that brisket, and it just tastes so amazing. 2 tablespoons of garlic powder, 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika, 1 tablespoon of pepper, a tablespoon of crushed coriander. This is almost a citrusy flavor that really brightens the notes of the coffee. A tablespoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of chili powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne for a little bit of heat. Now rub that liberally over all sides of your brisket. It's time to smoke. Let it smoke until the internal temperature reaches 165 degrees Fahrenheit. That means it's pushed through this period called the stall, where the brisket is sweating and it's actually cooling the brisket faster than it's cooking it. So when you break through that stall and your bark is nice and lovely and dark brown, I like to wrap it in butcher paper. This allows the brisket to breathe, and your bark is gonna be nice and crunchy instead of what can happen sometimes where it gets soft if you wrap it in foil. Once you have it wrapped, put it back on the smoker and cook until the internal temperature reaches 201 to 203 degrees. And anywhere in there, your brisket's gonna be at this perfect doneness. Make sure you give it a little squeeze and you'll be able to feel it so tender. While our brisket is smoking, it's time to work on our pickled red onions. These are what I believe the perfect accoutrement for smoked brisket. They're acidic, they're bright, they're beautiful, and they look gorgeous when you're serving your brisket, but they also taste so delicious, and they cut through the fatty richness of brisket. And the secret is, when you're eating something acidic with something fatty, it actually allows you to eat more of the fatty stuff. So these pickled red onions will refresh your palate and be absolutely perfect on your brisket platter. We start with an entire red onion cut in half and then sliced into half rings. 2 cups of apple cider vinegar, a 1/2 cup of brown sugar, a 1/4 cup of salt. I put that all in a mason jar and shake it really well to make sure the salt and the brown sugar dissolves. Then it's all about putting in those red onions and letting them sit. You can let them sit for at least 2 hours. If you have overnight, let them sit overnight, and then they'll last you about 1.5 weeks or 2 weeks, but honestly, you'll burn through them so much faster than that. They're good on everything. It's time to make our coffee barbecue sauce. This is the perfect complement for smoked meats like my coffee rubbed brisket, and it is absolutely delicious to serve alongside pretty much anything you're cooking outside. We start with a cup of tomato puree, a cup of brewed coffee. You can kind of make your coffee as strong as you want. It'll just bring out more of that coffee flavor. 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, a 1/2 cup of apple cider vinegar, 2 tablespoons of molasses, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 2 teaspoons of salt, a teaspoon of pepper, a teaspoon of onion, a teaspoon of garlic, a teaspoon of mustard powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. This will give you a classic barbecue sauce flavor with a coffee twist and just a kiss of heat. You guys are gonna love it. Pull it off. It's time to let it rest. It needs to rest for at least an hour before we slice and serve with our red onions and our coffee barbecue sauce. I wish you guys could smell this. The only way you're gonna get to though is if you make it yourself at home, because honestly that's the entire reason we do these videos and recipes at heygrillhey.com, so that you can cook amazing food in your backyard for your family. Speaking of amazing food, I don't think I can wait any longer. I'm taking one of these beautiful little burnt ends, a little of our coffee-based barbecue sauce, and a pickled red onion. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time. Oh, one more thing. If you guys like this video, if you cook any of these recipes, make sure you subscribe to our channel and share your cooks with us. You can join our Facebook group, you can post on Instagram, use the hashtag HeyGrillHey. We'll see you guys out there.